Two excellent meetings with the pre-screening, both pre-screenings. And to Rick's point earlier, we're open to continuing to work with the individuals that were not at those meetings and answer any questions that were available. And we thank all you guys for work, staff, and board members.
Sometimes, with a pre-screen, people might think it lengthens the process, but I think in the long run,
Worked very well.
it kind of shortens the process
Sure
because
did.
you know exactly where you're at. We tell you what we think you need, and we get a sense of what issues you may have and how we can work together. So
No, we
I
thank you.
think I'm proud to be a part of a board that changes the culture a little bit. And thank you very much. Do you have anything else you'd like to speak to us on?
I think we're in great shape. Thank you for all your hard work.
Joe, you better not tell that guy what you pay your guys.
Well, we can talk about that
We
offline.
tried some of those numbers, it didn't work.
Go ahead.
I agree.
Looking at the payroll.
We have some questions.
Yeah. Do you have questions?
Diane, you want
No, go ahead.
to?
Just confirm for me the parking spots that we talked about at length last time.
Sure.
Who's paying what? The low to moderate income folks
Mhm.
and the rest of them, so 141 less 14. Is everybody paying the same amount on a monthly basis, annual basis?
No.
And what is it going to cost?
Okay. So the parking spot counts I'll go over first, and then we'll talk about who's paying what, because I think they're two different questions, and you probably wanted them both answered. So we're building a total of 420 spots.
Could you take your mask off if
Yep.
you don't mind? It's all right with me, it's all right.
Yeah.
Fine with me. So we're building 420 total parking spots. We're reserving one parking spot per dwelling unit. So there's 129 market rate apartments that will be paying approximately $100 per month per space to park. When I say approximately, it's going to be $100 a month. There are 14 affordable leases that we're going to have. I can't call them affordable units because the units may change. We're building every unit the same way, to the same standard. So there'll be 14 affordable tenants that will pay half of that amount if they choose to take a spot. They're not required to. So we're reserving the 129 plus the 14. All the remaining spaces will be available for monthly or hourly parking. And those rates will be $1.50 an hour for hourly parking and $60 a month for monthly parking.
And how many tenants do you expect to have in the hotel that might be possibly losing those spaces?
So there's a total of 32 hotel rooms. The hotel parking is planned to either be hourly, if they choose to self-park, or valet. The beauty of doing it valet, and which is our preference, is that we can either put them in the garage if there's space, or we can go and use the plaza across the street, and use the surplus parking that Brad's family has that
Okay, so
may or may not.
That's for the hotel.
For the hotel.
Okay.
And for the employees as well.
And for the employees. So you put aside 129 parking spaces for the tenants,
Correct. The residential tenants.
residential tenants. How many residential tenants can you accommodate?
129 units.
Oh, only 129?
There's there's 129 apartments.
Oh.
So the number of people that live in each apartment will vary if you're single or a
So you
couple
could
or a
have
family.
up to 300 people having cars using those spaces.
We
So
could.
basically, it would be a parking garage mostly for the tenants and the apartment people.
Not really. We operate a building similar to this, and again, we're going back to the pre-screen, you're right, how does information get out to the people that weren't at the meeting? So we operate a building similar to this in the city of Poughkeepsie right now, where we have 136 apartments. We're required by the city's zoning code to build 1.3 parking spaces per unit. But we have surplus parking there. The reason is that when you build a building in a location like this, that you encourage walkability and you encourage the people moving into this building are downsizing. They're moving from a larger house and possibly 2 cars to 1 car. And some people have no cars at all. They can walk to work, they work from home, they can walk to the grocery store, they can walk to the restaurants. So we find, the building that we operate now, 1.3 is more than enough. And you're all welcome to drive by any time. There's surplus parking available right now. So by reserving 1 per unit, that still leaves 277 spaces available for the hourly and monthly parking. There's currently 137, because I went and counted them 2 weeks ago. 137 parking spots in that lot. So we are more than doubling the amount of parking that is in that lot available to hourly monthly parkers from where we are right now.
And the building that you have in Poughkeepsie that you
Mhm.
currently have excess parking, is it the same demographics? Is it located in the same kind of uptown region
Yep.
where there's a lot of shops and restaurants and that kind of thing, where people could be needing parking spaces like they do here in Kingston desperately?
It is located in an area, well, we didn't build a public parking component in that project. That project, we just built enough parking for the building itself.
Yeah.
It is located in an area where people can walk to some things. I think this area is more walkable, meaning the residents that live in this building are less likely, if possible, to need a second car, because there's more to walk to. In other words, our building in Poughkeepsie, you can't walk to a grocery store. You can walk to a restaurant, you can walk to the riverfront, you can walk to the hospital where a lot of people work.
Train station.
Train station you can walk to, but you can't walk to a grocery store and a drugstore and as many of the wonderful things that are in Uptown. So I think, I feel very good about the parking. And the beautiful thing again is we have the flexibility. We have the partnership with the Jordan family and the Kingston Plaza to grow or shrink the amount of parking that the project needs. I've used this analogy a couple times. It's a church analogy. When you're building the church parking lot, you don't build it for Easter Sunday. So it doesn't make sense to build the biggest parking garage possible for the busiest possible day that Kingston could ever have. We have flexibility nearby. We've doubled the amount of public spaces, plus taking care of our own spaces. There's no other project being built right now in Uptown that's building its own parking. They're all relying on parking waivers and using the public parking that exists. And we're increasing that public parking, which is the whole reason.
That bridge is still going to be there, so people won't have to kind of
Correct.
be able to walk easier into Uptown.
Correct. And without getting into the whole presentation, but you're right, Orlando, we're building an ADA accessible bridge across Schwenk Drive to get people to connect the two districts, the Plaza District, shopping, retail, commerce, to the Uptown retail, shopping, commerce
And
district,
parking.
and parking.
If someone doesn't want to pay for parking, they can park down there, if they can't find a spot around here.
That's right. We think a lot of employees will pay the monthly fee to know where their car is. They know they come in, they leave it there, it's good all day. They don't have to go back and refeed the meter, which will open up the parking spaces in front of their shops and restaurants now and allow more commerce to take place in Uptown. That was the,
I noticed in your facility, I'll say over in Poughkeepsie, do you pay for the shuttle, or does the hospital pay for the shuttle over there?
great question. So
Thank you.
that, the hospital pays for that shuttle. So the hospital is in the midst of a major construction project, as you're well aware, and they don't have enough parking right now. So we have an agreement with them to allow them to use our daytime parking, but that's not from the apartment building, it's from our catering facility. They're parking Monday through Friday during the morning and day. We don't, well, right now we have no catered events for the foreseeable future, so they can park as long as they want. But yeah, they're using our catering parking in order to supplement the hospital.
I guess the reason I get to that is that, you know, there's a big concern about parking and overflow parking, and, you know, I'm not writing your business plan for you or anyone else, but I don't see you as not being amenable to working within the community if things come up. I mean, your business relationship doesn't begin and end with a pilot program with the IDA. You know, the Jordan family has roots here. You know, and we know this area is going to continue to grow, and we hope, I for one, I can't speak for the members of the board. I hope it kickstarts the Uptown, so they're not basically rolling up the sidewalks at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'll speak to that too, Jim. During construction, we plan on using a shuttle service to the plaza. We're going to displace the current spaces, and then we'll have, excuse me, construction workers that need to be parked as well.
You're gonna make all construction workers park down the plaza?
Probably down by the ball field, where we have the commissioner of
that's
jurors in
important.
agreement right now with the county, where the jurors all park down there. So, you know, we're excited about, to me, the shared parking, and that's part of the DRI package. The pedestrian access with, you know, handicap accessible elevators on both sides. It's linking those two important districts is going to create benefits for both sides. And everybody that parks down there is a
You can't make more
potential
of
shopper.
it, but, you know, as long as the process is to utilize it in such a way that it benefits all parties concerned, I think.
Absolutely.
I think it's good.
Joe, the
Yeah.
project costs went from, decreased from 58 million to 54. I
Well,
got
we,
that right?
correct. So what we did, when we were discussing the fee earlier in the pre-screen, the fee is based on the gross project cost, but there's no, if you come in under budget, then there's no, and you pay the fee up front, you don't get a refund. So we have contingency as part of the project budget in terms of potential cost overruns. So it made no sense to pay the fee up front on a potential cost overrun when we haven't even incurred the cost overrun yet. So what we did was in the application, we modified the cost to show what we believe the true cost to be without overruns. Now, if we go into the overruns, we owe the fee. If we don't go into the overruns, we don't owe the fee. It's just based on the way your IDA fee structure works. Other IDAs do it differently.
So where did you skinny things up, in the garage or in the, or?
Neither.
across the
There's
whole-
a line item for contingency. So,
Eliminated that?
yes, that's the only thing, we didn't change the construction cost of anything. All we did was, and in any project at this stage, we don't know what all the materials could possibly
So there's
cost.
no more extra money to increase the amount of taxes going to the taxing?
No. We don't know what's going to happen, I mean, but a contingency in a project is part of every project, any
You know, a
any
lot
sizable
you'll see
project.
in projects, Rick, is called conditions. And it's built in as you know, something impossible, but if it's not utilized, then, you know, you don't get it kind of thing, so.
And our project documents always account for actual cost if it goes above what was.
There's a
paid as
reconciliation.
We assume you're gonna get the same fee, but we didn't wanna pay it up front if we don't have to spend the money.
Can you confirm the number of, and not for me, for people who haven't heard, the number of employees and what salary you're gonna be paying them?
Sure, so the number of employees, and again, I'm doing this all off memory here, there's really two components to the number of employees. There's the employees we're going to hire, but there's also tenant spaces in the building. So we know what our employees are going to be. We are hiring a minimum of 13 full-time employees, not full-time equivalent, but actually full-time employees to run the building. The ranges of salary will be from $15 an hour for someone who's cleaning, just doing a cleaning job, up to a $90,000 general manager. And I don't remember all the levels in between, but you have maintenance supervisor and front desk people and others. Then we are projecting 26 full-time equivalent in addition to that for our tenants. Now that's a harder number to nail down, but unlike your previous discussion that we listened to for the hour and a half before, we feel very confident that given the 9,000 square feet of space, 8 to 9,000 square feet of space that are part of the project, that they will need to hire 26 FTE to accomplish staffing those spaces. A little difficult because we don't know what's going to be a restaurant, what might be a bank, what might be a retail store, what might be an office, a professional office space. You know, they all have different numbers, but based on that square footage and a conservative estimate, I feel very comfortable that when we do our parish reporting for you all, that we'll make those numbers.
27.
And they'll be,
27, oh sorry, 27, yeah, I did the math wrong.
and they'll be, and you're gonna guarantee that at least $15 an hour?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Diane, you have a question?
So hello, good to see you again.
Okay.
Question I have for you is, received 10 million from the state, of which 3 million went to the project. So can you share how you're applying the 3 million from the state, the extra funding to this project?
Sure. So let's talk about the whole grant process. There's a total of 3 grants in total. There's one grant from Empire State Development for $2 million that we've been awarded. But I want to make it clear, we haven't received a penny. We don't get any money until we're done. So all of these grants are reimbursable after the project's complete and we meet all the goals. Much like you have Club Axe and an agreement, well, we have a contract with the state that says we're going to create so many jobs and we're going to spend so much money, and we have to submit everything to them as well. So one grant is from Empire State Development for $2 million. There's a Restore New York grant that went from the state to the city for $1 million, and that's basically to rebuild the historic-looking hotel. Then the DRI funding was a grant that was $10 million to the city. A little over $3 million was allocated to our project. Similarly, 3.8, correct. A portion of that gets paid back in fees, but we will get some of it, or most of it, 3.6, let's just say, if we do all the things that we say we're going to do. So where does that 3.6 go specifically? It's to build a pedestrian plaza. It's to build a walkway going over Schwank Drive. It is to deal with significant infrastructure, underground work that needs to be done to take care of utility relocation, subsurface conditions, demolition of the old city parking structure, which you don't see but still underground. And what else was in it?
It's all specific to the public spaces.
Yeah, it's basically making the city of Kingston's land ready to be built on, which is a little more than half the project site, as well as the pedestrian space.
Public plaza.
Pedestrian, right, plaza, and then the walkway bridge.
Okay, so it's applied across different parts
Restrooms,
of the
restrooms, Joe,
around
that's
the
right.
Oh,
park.
public restrooms.
Public restrooms.
So it's applied across different things, but that money can't be spent on apartments, for instance. It has to be
Well, for
spent
the
on,
public good.
For certain.
correct,
Correct.
it's earmarked for certain things.
Dan, any
You must have
questions?
grant money.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Diane.
no, no, just one more, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's a completely
Everybody.
different subject,
Sure.
not related to that. Can you give us the status on the different lawsuits
Sure.
that are pending, and also potentially what you think may or may not be the effect on our actions here as
Sure, I'll give the short answer and then Brad can go into a little more detail. There's a number of lawsuits pending that are baseless. I mean, basically you have one player in town who's funding these lawsuits. And I don't think, our lawyers don't think that we've done anything wrong. We followed all the rules of seeker. We followed everything we were supposed to do. There's something at play that we don't fully understand, whether it's, I don't know the intentions or motivations. I can't speculate on those. But what I can say is there's nothing that will hold up our process. And Article 78 lawsuits like these have been filed against projects since the beginning of seeker. We will be proceeding on with the project forthwith and at our own risk, but we feel very comfortable that we're still spending money because we will prevail.
I could just add to that. The risk is actually on the petitioners in those lawsuits. It's their legal obligation to seek an injunction if they want to basically halt further approvals and construction. If they fail to do so, the courts have said, you're proceeding with your litigation at risk because the applicant has a right to move forward unless the petitioners would essentially have to succeed on an injunction and then file a bond because of the investment that's been made to obtain the approvals and move forward. And here we haven't
Envision
seen,
an Article 78 being filed.
Yes.
and there's been no injunctions in the several months since they've been done, and some of these are already fully briefed, I believe. So they're
Maybe I'm a
waiting for
little
decision.
naive, but when it first came up, I had a call from a couple people, and I said, well, unless it says New York State on it, or County of Ulster, you're just throwing mud at it to slow down the process, which is,
That's exactly what it
Right,
is.
they have no,
You can see right through them.
yes, and they would not
but
be
it's
able
a
to
valid
stop the
question
cities
for our
here.
board, because
Sure,
we want to
absolutely.
educate it as far as
We
that
just,
goes.
as a leader, we don't feel there's any merit to it, and I mean,
And
not only are we
I've
being sued, the
confirmed
city of Kingston's
independently
being
that
sued.
there's no stays in effect,
No.
even in association, which is something they can ask for,
Right,
but
then
kind
it
of
gets
tellingly
expensive.
did not.
Right, it's inexpensive to file an Article 78. It's expensive to get the injunction because then the petitioner has to bond on
Cover the
higher.
potential damage.
Right.
Right.
You can put out a bond for
So it speaks
$6 million
volumes.
project, now you gotta really put up some money.
Right, but it is a common tactic to say there's litigation, so you can't go forward. That's not true unless they seek that, and the courts will admonish them. It's their obligation to go seek the stay if they want to stop other.
Not to mention that it's your risk, frankly.
Yes.
It doesn't really change our.
Right, right.
You know,
If we don't prevail in that lawsuit, that means that those reviews would have to be completed over again before we could go forward.
Before we close.
Diane, you good?
No, thank you, George.
Orlando, I'm sorry, I bypassed you, sir. I'm
No, it's okay.
gonna ask everybody, then come back to you. Danny?
I can have,
No, I was,
Oh, did
I'm
you-
sorry, go ahead.
oh,
Orlando,
please,
please.
Dan.
No, I was gonna ask you to just touch on the lawsuit, but thank you, Diane. We have a few things to work out, but I think it's a great project. As a business uptown, I couldn't be any more happier than it. I think it's great for uptown business. And again, you've been a pillar in this community for a long time, and I'm glad you're involved. So I hope the rest of you guys can see it that way as well.
Orlando?
No, I don't have anything else. I do have one question though, and I'm sorry, I'll come back, sorry. You guys said that there's public restrooms? Are those gonna be, I mean, I always get very nervous when I hear public restrooms out and open. Are those protected enough, so?
Joe can explain it.
I don't know. I had